Hey everybody, this is Frankie Drakes. Welcome to Leaf and Dram. I am back at Cafe La Trova as I am with you guys every week. And thank you for tuning in. Thank you for sharing the podcast out there. Make sure you share it with your friends. Make sure everybody tunes in. We're having a very special day today. This is my boy Don Gato, which is my guest today, man. So welcome to Leaf and Dram.
How you doing?
Man, it's been way too long. We go back a long ways. We're going to tell everybody more about that story. Listen, we're outside so we can enjoy some cigars. So we got to deal with the noise, little planes flying over. So while I wait for the plane to do its thing, listen, you know, it's September. So this is bourbon month. So for everybody out there, I hope you're drinking a little bourbon. So today I'm raising a little glass to you guys out there. Cheers to you guys.
Salud.
Take a little sip. And today, listen, man, I'm going to celebrate bourbon month, probably be celebrating all month long, but I got a little Larceny from Heaven Hill.
Very good.
Small batch, wheated bourbon. You guys know that I'm a wheated bourbon type guy. That's because I drink Pappy all the time, right? Yeah, bullshit. Nobody's drinking that Pappy, all right? And if you get a chance to, enjoy it. So because consider yourself part of the few. But wheated bourbon, everyone knows it because of Pappy Van Winkle. All you're doing is taking that standard bourbon mash bill, which is corn, rye, and malted barley. You're taking out the rye, you're putting in wheat. It definitely gives it a very different flavor. I call it's a lot like a Connecticut shade of bourbons, which is a lot what I'm having right now. We'll talk about that in a minute, but it's a Connecticut shade of bourbons. The flavor profile is very light, but yet very flavorful. A lot of floral notes come through. A lot of grass, a lot of hay. Just a fantastic way to enjoy your bourbon. A little different, and most of you already know what a wheated bourbon is like. Because if Don Gato, have you had Maker's Mark before?
Yeah, of course.
Maybe once or twice.
Yeah.
Well, Maker's Mark is probably the world's largest maker of wheated bourbons, and it's extremely popular. People don't really understand that that's what they're having, which is
take on it,
which is great. So try Maker's Mark, try Maker's 46. If you find the Larceny, give it a go. Redemption has a great wheated bourbon as well. Give that a go, and hopefully somewhere along that journey you're going to find Pappy Van Winkle on that journey, and try that and see how amazing those are, because they're very long aged bourbons when you're talking about the Pappy Van Winkle family. So cheers to bourbon month. I'm taking another sip. But look, man, we're here. I'm going to give a little shout out to my boy Rob Amato out there at Lost Laundry out in Vegas. A little shout out to your hat guy.
Dade County Clothing Company.
Dade County Clothing Company, man. If you want those sexy hats, just look them up on the internet, right?
Yeah.
Dade County, I think it's DadeCountyClothingCo.com.
No doubt.
And you guys can find that super awesome signature hat, man. When they came out with that, people were like, "You gotta be kidding me!" It's like that's that's
they
pure.
call it the 11. Everybody calls it the 11, but
yeah.
I tell them no.
So and if you haven't been to Miami, haven't been to Club 11, make sure it's one of your stops after you stop at La Trova.
Yeah.
So listen, man, I'm gonna say a little salute because we're here. It's hot as balls out here. And the little mojito, because
the famous La Trova mojito.
Little La Trova mojito to refresh the palate.
Yes.
You guys that have watched this broadcast before have seen the mojito video. Maybe I'll even throw it in at the end just to remind everybody. But one of my favorite drinks, just totally refreshing. The combo of rum, sugar, soda, but more importantly, that the lime and the mint refreshes your palate, especially when you're having a great cigar. Just something nice to sip on.
Tranquilo y tropical, we like to say.
There we go. So without further ado, man, welcome to Leaf and Dram. As I said, Don Gato. I mean, what's your real name for everybody out there?
Eduardo Consuegra, born and raised Miami.
All right, so you're a Miami 305 guy like me, right? Real deal. There's a lot more people, a lot more pretenders, but we're like the original. We're the OGs of the OGs here, born and raised Miami, and very proud to welcome everyone to come visit us and have a great time with us. Because if you come to Miami, that's what you're doing. You're having a great time.
Exactly. This is exactly who you want to see.
So Eddie, first let's talk about Tight Ashes, right? So Tight Ashes, let's hold up the little box. Tight Ashes is your company, man, and these are great. These are great cigars that you're now having made all over the place.
Yeah, all over the place. We like to have our cigars made by different blenders, different farms, different countries, so that there's no, these are our signature blends, for instance, made in Nicaragua. We have other ones made in Dominican Republic, other ones made in Honduras, and other ones hand rolled here in Miami. We call them special blends, so that people don't get bored of, the same kind of palette. When you get a cigar company, you can tell they're made in the same place by the same blenders. With ours, you're not going to be able to tell that. Always going to be different, all different blends.
Well, that's it's something with when I was with Drew Estate, one of the things they offered was that multitude of blends really opens up your product to different palettes, and I always enjoyed that about that company. It's glad to see that Tight Ashes is doing a lot of the same things. So,
and helps your palate grow too. People realize they get too used to smoking the same cigars, and then they smoke something different and they don't like it. You got to expand your palate in cigars just like you would in food or alcohol or music, like I like to say.
So let's talk about this one real quick.
Yeah,
so I'm having a Tight Ashes Connecticut.
Tight Ashes Black Label Connecticut with a Nicaraguan Dominican filler. Very, very mild, but smooth. It's got a nice taste to it. Pairs very well with these bourbons, lager beers, or nice sweet aged rum. Really creates a nice, what I call it, like a circus in your mouth, of tastes.
Well, I'm definitely enjoying that. So let's go back. Let's talk about the history of Tight Ashes, man. How did you get started? For all you guys out there that have the dream of one day starting your cigar company, here's a gentleman that's done it, and he's done it really well. So tell us, man. Tell us how that dream came about.
Well, we definitely did it very unconventional, which is what I like. I don't like to do things my own way, so to speak. So it actually spawned from my DJ career, as my reputation usually as a DJ. We're getting called for many events to do like cigar rollers and salsa bands and Cuban bands and mojito bars, Cachino, very Cuban directed events. So we started this cigar culture company called Tight Ashes to just deal with those type of events instead of just the music side that I'm used to dealing with. And then over time, we were approached by some farm in Dominican Republic. This was about 2012 to start making our own cigars, and the rest we loved it. The rest is history.
Well, they did that. See, but that sounds really, really simple, man.
Yeah, it's a little more complicated, but yeah.
About to the time, about 2012 is, but I probably recognized you from being out in the DJ world out here. But about 2012, I think we meet up, and you're telling me that you got some cigars coming out, and I'm super excited about it.
Yeah.
And How did you go about like the process of learning it? Learning the
Well,
whole cube, the whole cigar process.
so actually, funny enough, it started with quitting smoking cigarettes in when I was about 18 years old, and I started getting into cigars, and I started getting into like old Cuban music and wearing guayaberas, and we were part of cigar clubs. Actually, Hooligans had an old school cigar club where they would meet every month. A certain cigar company gave out free cigars. A certain liquor distributor had all their lineup of different liquors for you to try, and we had all you can eat food, and it was actually a radio station over there when there was no podcast like this or internet.
Right.
Um, so man, I just fell in love with it. I always wanted to get into the business. I knew about cigars and learned about cigars, and then once I had that opportunity to finally break through, I jumped on it, And then yes, there's a lot of stuff that I didn't know about the cigar business until I got into it, and a lot of stuff I can't tell you. If not, we might have to kill you, right?
Absolutely,
But
absolutely. But
but
these are some of the things that like. Listen, there's a lot of people that have tuned into the podcast from Sticks and Sips, and now to Leaf and Dram, and everybody has their own dream about
for sure,
maybe someday, because as aficionados, I'm telling you, it's possible. You could
it's
definitely learn.
it's definitely possible because I do it every day for people that want to create their own blend in whatever capacity, whether it's their own blend for their own family as a private thing, or their company, or they want to do it for an event, or they want to do it on an upper scale for their restaurant or bar or club or anything. We do it all over the world. We've set up cigars and blends for different people, from a boutique to a commercial level. So
Well, I heard on the grapevine that there's a spot in Africa that's carrying Tight
yeah,
Ashes cigars.
we're in
So
Zanzibar, Africa. That's right. Yeah, one of the few cigar manufacturers for Zanzibar, for Africa. Um, that's going really well right now. Yeah, so Africa, Jamaica,
how does that happen?
Bahamas. That's a funny one, man. That's actually so. Like, you should never burn any bridges. I actually was through an ex-girlfriend of mine. I met these clients of mine from Africa, and come 4 or 5 years later, they're contacting me to make their cigars for them for the grand opening of their resorts, and now kiosks coming in the Zanzibar airport.
There you
The
go.
concept is Miami meets Zanzibar.
I
Yeah,
love it. I love it.
yeah.
So listen, man. For here's the lesson, man. Don't burn any bridges. All right. Don't burn any bridges, because you never know. You never know.
Especially
Uh,
in Miami, because you won't be able to get anywhere, right?
yeah, exactly. Everybody knows everybody.
Yep.
So Eddie, let's talk about. So you start the business. You kind of learn. You learn the business,
Yeah.
um, and then you learn to appreciate it. And I've seen you, doing the stuff on the blending floor, and buying tobacco,
Yeah.
and what's that process like?
It's a very intrinsic process, that's for sure. I like to say and not everybody could do it. Joking, kind of, because I get paid or not get paid. I create blends for people, So we might have to sit there, smoke about 5 cigars at the same time, let's say, to create a blend. Maybe go take, smoke a cigar for 2 3 minutes, then whip out another one, 2 3 minutes. These are blends that are very very close together in their tastes and palates, with maybe a little bit of ligero on more on ligero on one or less, and stuff like that. So it's a cool process, though.
Oh, it it it
I'm
it,
sure you've
de-
done
it,
it
it
before.
definitely is. It definitely is to actually see that process of making a blend is truly special.
And what's great about it is that you may pick one blend that you're going to use, but then now you got 4 other blends that you may like, or you may be able to use for other clients, or other blends of your own. You
Yeah,
know,
right. I
so it's
mean, that's we've seen that through the history, over at Drew Estate, and different blends. That listen, they didn't pick that for this cigar, but they saved it. They
yep.
saved it
It's
for.
almost like magic happens, and they didn't. Sometimes you don't even mean to do something, and it just pops up, and it's like instant. It's like
Yeah, because
wow.
I'll tell you, there's like blends like I don't like that, man, and then they get the same blend, different vitola in a box press, all of a
And
sudden
it
the
changes
blend
the whole.
changed everything.
Yes, exactly,
You know,
man.
so for me, I'm truly digging the the Connecticut, just because it's one of those things where it's like trying to figure out that matching point, you know, with the larceny, right? Where it
I need more larceny.
don't worry, we got you, man, we got you. You know, so but what we, you know, what I like to talk to people about, especially makers, makers of brands, is um, you know, well, we know at the end of the day, uh, the inspiration drives you to create like new things. So I know you started like with kind of like one blend, right? One blend, and then it goes into what's next after that.
Yeah, well, when we first started, we were overwhelmed a little bit with the whole situation and having pretty much a whole farm to ourselves. We went to the Dominican Republic and all that. But after things calmed down a little bit, yeah, you kind of want to simplify stuff, you know. Like he's saying, like you don't want to have all these great. So we want to have like at least a robusto, a torpedo, and a toro is what my opinion are. The, basic sizes. They're not too big, not too small. You know, for beginners, for people trying stuff, you want to simplify. I think
Sure.
three vitolas, three blends. Maduro, Habano, Connecticut. Then as you grow and grow, then yeah, you start expanding and bringing different vitolas into the realm. Churchill, this and that. Cameroon wrappers or Sumatra wrappers, one of my favorite. Very hard to find. So yeah, it definitely grows. It definitely grow into a lot of stuff that we've been doing. A lot of different stuff we're doing, and it's coming out right now.
Well, you know, like I'm super excited about that. But listen, you know, so when we're talking about, you know, like I've always been a proponent of telling people I know like the most popular vitolas, you know, or
Uh-huh.
robusto, you know, uh, period. I mean, that's the biggest selling vitola across the board
Yeah.
for everybody. So you go with what moves on the market. So making things that are like a little bit unique kind of set you apart, and we'll come to that in a minute. So talk to me about what you're smoking right now.
I'm smoking the blue label Maduro, made all Nicaraguan in Esteli.
There you go. I'm familiar with Esteli tobaccos, and you know, so now you're talking about so everything in there is Nicaraguan, yes. So
Yeah, this is a typical style Nicaraguan Maduro that you see in most padrones and
in
other.
the Padrones of the
Yeah.
world, in the Hoya Nicaraguas of the world, where they're using, you know, so, you know, just so everybody gets a refresher for those that don't know, when we're talking about a Budo, it's a kind of a catch all phrase. We're talking about a cigar, right? But a Budo actually is a cigar where all the components, wrapper, binder, filler are coming from one country. So when we're talking about puro, the translation is pure, um, and it basically you're basically making an actual real deal uh, puro coming out of Nicaragua with all Nicaraguan components.
Yeah, 100%. It's a recent, not more recently. It's been happening a lot around Nicaragua. Nicaragua earlier in days were used more as a filler, for the more Dominican blends.
Right.
But now everybody's moving out there.
Yeah. Everybody has been for many years now,
Yeah,
and finding out that Nicaragua makes amazing tobacco. They grow amazing tobacco, um, but you know we can't turn our back on stuff coming from the Dominican
no way. If
Republic.
anything, I think they're making a comeback right now. People want to go back to that old style.
Right, and what does that mean? Like old style, you know?
I
Like,
don't know. It's got more of the see from what I'm understanding is in Nicaragua the soil's more superior. Like a Cuban soil. Dominican Republic not as superior, but the techniques that they use are more old school and traditional from my experience.
got you.
And the
So
cigars have more of it's hard to
yeah,
it's like a more
I think they have more of an
smoother.
oomph, right?
Yeah, it's
If
kind of like
So
a uniqueness to it.
right. Let's call out like the purely Dominican brand. So like we can start with the classic Arturo
like Fuente for sure. Exactly.
So when you guys are like having a Fuente out there and you're saying, man, I know what a Fuente is like, right? You know that you're getting what I call, and you say it, old school blend,
Old
right?
school blends, yeah.
Right. You crack the box, and you feel it, you smell it,
yeah.
And then when you light it right off that first that first third of the cigar, you're getting that massive blast of tobacco, of aged tobacco, right?
Sure.
Now, Dominican, I think cigars went through a little bit of a dip. I think there was maybe a little overproduction, but it's good to hear that they're making a comeback.
Yeah, it was good. I guess probably because a lot had to do with the Nicaraguan explosion. I mean, people getting more into fuller, fuller-bodied cigars, and Nicaraguan right now is the best at making these fuller-body Maduro type cigars.
Yeah, exactly. Shout out to Hoya and Plasencia and to Padron, which was the old school dudes, doing it. And man, I remember being here because you're old school like me, right? So one of the things that what we remember is like if you come to La Trova 2 blocks up, not a block and a half. It's a block and a half. You get the Dan de Bronce, which is where Willie Herrera comes from.
Yeah.
And Titan de Bronce has been making cigars since the early to mid '90s. Right here, this is the old hood, but across the street from these guys was a Crédito with Ernesto Perez Carrillo, and you guys know him. You may not know a Crédito as a thing, but you know EPC, and
Great
you
cigar.
Definitely know La Gloria Cubana because that was the stick, you know. And he was bringing in tobacco from Dominican Republic, right? And it was being rolled here. Tobacco from Dominican Republic, rolled here, exploded, really changed the Miami market. Then 3 doors down, Don Pepin opens up. And I mean, that changes the game for Miami.
My favorite in the 90s that got me really into it that I didn't mention earlier was Puros Indios. Not around anymore, but they were out of Honduras, and they were famous for making a Sumatra and classic Cuban wrapper, man.
Puros Indios, yes.
Oh, man, they were great. Yeah, that was the first people I started working with when I got into it.
Well, there's a lot of history here, and not just. I mean, I go back to seeing that first Uber Ultra Dark Maduro in the Serie R from La Gloria Cubana, and you're going like, how'd they get this black freaking wrapper on this thing? And man, that was a gut punch, bro. Yeah, that was a gut puncher, man. So I still love being in the hood. I know things have changed. I know these places have gone elsewhere, but I think Perdomo was over here on 7th.
It's a lot more spread out now.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it just goes with the times. But listen, man, everyone has like this fantasy, this ideal of Cuban cigars, man. So take me through your journey with Cuban cigars. Being a Cuban guy, right? Raised in Miami. I've got more Cohibas from you, most of them real, and some great Hirochi fucking blends that you brought me back from Cuba. Thank you for the Hirochi Robina. Legend in Cuban cigar making. Why are Cuban cigars still so important, brother?
Oh man, it's a tough question, man. But definitely the history is for sure, and the way they make it. A lot of people want to talk down about them now. Like if you smoke Cuban, I smoke everything. I smoke my blends. I smoke everybody else's blends. I smoke Cuban blends. Um, Cuban blends are always going to be unique, different tastes because of the regions, right?
Right.
I mean, you could get a cigar from Brazil or Mexico. They may not be as great, but it's unique. It's different.
Right. It's
Jamaica.
Right. I know you're in Jamaica quite a bit.
Yeah, we make
So,
cigars over there too.
Jamaica has its own tobacco production.
Yeah.
And we could talk about that for sure.
Yeah. So the Cubans.
But let's talk about why Cubans are still special, brother. Why are they still special?
Well, they're definitely special in the States because they're illegal out here. But
so is cocaine, my brother.
Yeah. Well, in Miami, it's very special. But it actually, China has the most consumers of Cuban cigars now. A couple articles came out, which is probably what's driven up the price of Cuban cigars in just recent times. So
I think Cuban prices are like double right now.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
What they used to
be
crazy.
Yeah, obviously the soil over there is superior. All the seeds that are used in Nicaragua and Dominican and other parts, are still called Cuban seed. Some of them actually still get Cuban seeds. Like over all the time. You know what I'm saying? Because there's also first, second, third generation Cuban seeds, where somebody has grown a seed,
right? Like Criollo 95 versus Criollo 98.
Yeah,
and then we know people smuggle those seeds out of Cuba, and they plant their test crops elsewhere to see how they do. So don't think that that's not happening. Yes, that is happening.
Definitely definitely in Nicaragua and Dominican and stuff like that. It's not illegal.
It's a seed, man. You know. And listen, I'll bring this in from the wine world. You get one grape that grows in the south of France, and it's a certain thing. In California, it's a completely different thing. The terroir, though similar enough to make that leaf or that grape thrive.
Yes.
But it changes. The dew points change. The way that the temperatures are slightly modified, and the same thing happens, I think, in Nicaragua, right, where we're bringing in these great seeds. They're being raised. They're just becoming amazing. And then it's like, oh, let's put it in the pilon. And then let's let it sit for 2-3 years, and let's see what happens. So, you guys, every year we're getting newer expressions, and I know companies try to blend it to match what you originally put out in the market.
Yeah,
but the reality is you're dealing with a natural product. And that natural product is going to be different. It's going to change, and it's actually going to give you a great experience. It's like a bottle of wine.
100%, just like wine, and they age great as well. So I have some cigars, Cubans, have been aging there for about 30 years. Some of these cigars will sell for $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a cigar.
We got to have that conversation offline,
no doubt,
because I'm of the ilk that there is a degradation process in the essential oils of the cigar.
That's true.
That over 30 years, listen, man, you're just smoking so you can hold the band. But cheers to you if you get your hands on a 30-year-old.
I got some of the original Trinidad, 30 years old.
Right.
Yeah, man.
So listen, for everybody out there, I mean, because you're you're kind of, to me, like, you're like my rum cigar connection, and I don't know where you get them from. All right, so So tell me, like, what are the brands? Because everybody, no, come on through. Everybody, goes, it's Cohiba, right? They know Cohiba, right?
Cohiba, Romeo and Julieta, and Monte Cristo. It's
Right.
not mainly everybody knows.
For the, what are the other brands that they don't really know? Right. The Ache Upmans of the world that no one's paying attention to. And that was one of my favorites when I started smoking.
That's a classic. H. Upman. One of my favorites right now is H. Upman Magnum 56. It's pretty much their answer to the Bejique. It's at a little cheaper price point, but a great cigar. Nice reddish Habano wrapper.
Wow.
We also have the Patagas, which has a long line of different ones. The Serie D is very popular, Número 4. You also have the Maduros Número 1 and Maduro Número 2, which Cuba just started getting really into making Maduros in the last 10 years, which they weren't making Maduros ever before.
Right. And people think that when they're getting a Cuban cigar, right? The Cuban cigar, man, I'm gonna like turn this into like not only just a Don Gato episode, man, but like diving into Cuban cigars is like the understanding is that Cuban cigars were supposed to be like uber powerful, gut punchers, and this and that, and I'm here to tell you that that is not the style of a Cuban cigar. It hasn't been. It may be now as we enter the market, but it was never the style of cigar that was in Cuba. So for you guys that really, really want to know what it really was, it was kind of more of a Connecticut shade style cigar.
Yeah, light Habanos
lighter Habanos, lighter with a lot of flavor.
Yeah.
Right? With a lot of flavor, but not a lot of strength. They were not, I would say, mild to medium.
When they came out was where the strength came from. Mainly a lot.
Right,
Romeo and Julietas are very
which
classic,
changed the game.
Exactly, which was later on. A lot of people don't know. Cohibas came in later on in the game. They're not an old school traditional from when our parents were in Cuba. Cohiba was not there.
Right. I mean, I've got ties to Bausa Cigars, which is an old school company from Cuba, and so you mentioned Trinidad.
So Trinidad is another one they made for Castro. It wasn't supposed to go to the public, and then eventually they released it out to the public, which they're great cigars also. Very, very nice light palate, almost like the Connecticut he's over here smoking. The Romeo and Julietas are like that too. You also have I mentioned Partagas. You have Oil de Monterrey, a little stronger.
Yes, most
put some people on their asses. Yeah,
which was like. The thing is, where people realize, and I think that we need to talk about this, right? Color of wrapper is not an indicator.
Not necessarily, no, not necessarily.
I mean, I think nowadays
it takes it over the top a little bit sometimes, but it's the blend inside, of course.
Right,
the ligero.
Right, we throw more ligero in dark cigars now, which is not a thing about cigars.
No.
The Maduro wrapper is actually sweeter and lighter. It's just got more complex sugar flavors.
Wait till you try this blue label.
Right. And
it's of that Cuban style, It's a Maduro, but it's smooth, It's got a smooth filler, for sure.
And what I want to tell people is that, so I think that people blend to what's happening in the market, right?
Uh-huh.
And so I think Maduros ended up having more ligero thrown into the blends. I think most cigar manufacturers started to do that, to throw more ligero in there, and then the palate. I won't say the American palate, but let's talk about the American palate, right? The American palate goes, oh, it's darker, it's stronger.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's the blender. We just threw a little more ligero in there to make it a stronger offering. But that's not really what's going on classically that was a very sweet cigar, because it had those sweet notes of caramel, brown sugar, you know, uh, cooked spices, and was just amazing. But it definitely was not a kick you in the fucking guts cigar, because you could actually have something with a very light wrapper
That'll
that could,
that'll knock you out.
knock your
Yeah.
ass out, because it was all freaking, some heavy duty Ligero thrown into the blend.
And you could be a seasoned smoker like us, and you still get knocked out. Trust me.
Those are one of the things
Don't try to be a big boy, bro.
you know and so that's one of the things I think it's a little misleading these days, but um but Cuban cigars are still the premium of what they want in Europe. But the good news is that they're turning on to Nicaraguans. They're turning on to Dominicans and other places, and the blends, because I think the blends coming from different parts are really where the future is.
Yeah. Um, as far as the whole Cuban thing goes, I think another important thing is the culture, the whole history and culture behind it, right?
Right.
You know,
I don't know what
the whole,
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, bro. But,
you
but
know,
keep
the
but
whole,
keep going,
the
bro.
whole Guayaberas, the rum, the music, the
Li-
Copacabana, the flag,
And listen, man, I've said this many a times.
the coffee, the
Um,
rum,
if
the women.
if really women,
Well, I don't know. They're just.
that goes in with that goes in with
I mean,
the
I don't want to.
with the
I don't want
rum
to
or
offend
whatever,
anybody. I
bro.
don't want
Yeah,
to offend anybody
yeah.
over here,
Yeah,
but
let's walk that one back, DJ Don Gato. But
yeah.
we're both been in Miami. We know what that's all about. But listen, one of the coolest things is about culture is, um, if you weren't part of this culture growing up, I think that any party you went to, when it was kind of the old school parties, I mean, no knock on our gringo brethren out there, but you went to a Cuban party and it was old school, so there was probably a pig in the cajachina or a pit. Um, we we had a plethora of food, bro,
All types of
before
bandejas.
you even got to the main meal.
Uh-huh.
And the main meal was typically roast pig, um, white rice, black beans, or moros, which is white rice and black beans mixed together, cooked together. Um, Yuca, platanito, and some assorted. Yeah, go get that.
And croquetas.
And croquetas. So I'm glad you brought that out. So
Croqueticas.
croquetas to us are a little ham and bechamel, little rolled up, right, ground together, uh, and we put them, we fry them, because what's better than little fried ham and some cream, and some breading, and you make this beautiful little, uh, you know thing that looks like this, and it's about like this big,
3.5 by 50.
you
Three
know.
and a half
So
inches by 50.
so this is a 3.5 by 50. I would say this looks like an Isla Canaria croqueta size, but you would enjoy these. So
I'm excited for Frank to try this.
so
He hasn't tried this
I am
yet. I want to
super
see his
excited.
expression.
So
Everybody that smokes this has been blown away. It's a small cigar and it packs major punch and major taste. Straight from the Dominican Republic, which I decided to go back to make these.
So I love the packaging, right? Because this is like if you go to a party pack and you order a bunch of croquetas and you're at a party at any Cuban household, there's croquetas, and some are good, some are not so good.
How was that one off the bat? That's one thing I get right off the bat.
I'm gonna reserve my comments, man, because I think you need to have
Let
a
it go.
little
Let
bit
it
of
go.
time.
Yeah, let it go, man.
But if I were to say a comment off the bat, freaking right off the first blast, delicious. I'm curious to know the blend, because again, part of that whole thing. I'm gonna finish this off. Part of that whole thing about being at a Cuban home, right? At a party, whether it was your niece's, baptism.
Yeah. Croquetas, pastelitos, and punch.
Your second cousin's graduation from grade school or kindergarten, um, or just your regular freaking Saturday. You're having an amazing experience with that family, and to be honest with you, man, I never appreciated it when I was a kid. And because you got an old man that stuck a fucking cigar in your mouth, and you said,
Right?
"Smoke this," and you go like, "Bro, I'm like 12,"
Yeah.
and he's like, "Smoke that shit," and you smoked it, and brother, to compound with the beers and the rum that I was stealing, right, from the bar. All of a sudden, you're in the side of the house and you're having a cigar with your boys, and within like 20 minutes, man, you're sick as a
That's what I thought you were
fucking
gonna
dog,
say.
man. You're sick as a dog, and that's the experience, man. And
Hell
so, and that's like sort of like the equivalent of a beatdown that they give you in your
Yep.
in your progress to manhood. You got to go through this.
For sure. I went through it. At that age, 12 years old, my first go U. I didn't smoke another one till 18.
You go, this is the worst shit ever.
Like a rites of
I was
passage.
high as fuck, dude. High and nauseous.
Well, the reason I like to drink rum is so anybody that gets sick out there, a little trick. A lot of people don't know about this, but I deal with a lot of beginners and women smokers as well. So the trick is, if you get sick, you mix water with sugar and you chug it down. You can Google this if you want. So, I did that for a while. What's rum?
Yeah.
Water and sugar, no?
Yeah, but you get that extra blast.
No,
whatever.
of course.
But yes,
But
it's kicking.
to me, that's what the original blend, the original ancestors and all that were doing. They were pairing cigars and rum. To me, they feed off each other.
Absolutely, because
The
we're
sugar
talking
and the
about
cigar. So I don't. Ever since then, I don't get sick when I smoke.
right,
and drink
which
rum.
is you're drinking rum, right?
Yeah.
You get an extra blast of sugar in there
For sure.
to help you
And
go.
the taste is to me, the sweetness
Right.
of the rum with the cigar is
Right.
to me is number one.
So listen, I'm
And
gonna.
I've done it in Cuba and in Dominican, both places. That they've taught me that. Go ahead.
I'm gonna talk about this for a second.
Okay.
So these are the coquetas, man. So I love these 3.5 by 50. What's the blend, man? Because this is like
It's amazing, right? I can't come up with a blend just yet, but
it's
definitely a Habano medium blend from the Dominican.
definitely feels that way. It's very
from its-
classic
from
in
its
its
bow,
flavor.
you know?
Right on the first light. Very, very classic in its approach. So you're getting kind of like this, like almost like a second, third cigar, right? You're getting that cigar in that second, third.
Mhm.
And so it starts off super complex, and I can only imagine it gets more complex as we go on. But
These things, story behind this is actually so my blenders from Nicaragua brought these to me, and a light bulb went off in my head the second I saw them. I hadn't even smoked them. I took everything they brought, and this croquetilla thing, as he knows very well,
right.
I'm known for making memes and jokes about croquetas for years now, right? And so it was almost like it came to fruition when I saw these things, and I said, I knew what's going on. I'm gonna do with this right away. I didn't even smoke one of them yet.
Right. So if you like, listen, if you go to a bakery and you go in a party, they're gonna serve this. You want croquetas to bring to a party. They're gonna give you a tray that looks like this.
We
It's
call it
wrapped in
bandeja.
plastic,
Un bandeja.
a little bandeja, and it's gonna have like 50 croquetas on there. Little guys, be like maybe twice the size. 100, bro. That bandeja is huge.
We're working on big bandejas like that. So to finish that story off real quick, so have been in such high demand even before we can make these bandejas. They've been in such high demand that my Nicaraguan, like I was saying, I work with different, so they couldn't keep up with the demand. So I contacted my guys in the Dominican Republic to make this, and they looked at me like I was crazy. They were like, "What are you talking about?" And now nobody can stop talking about it in the factory up in Cibao, saying who's the madman that created this thing. And my guys are like, that's Don Gato. That's Don Gato from Miami. So now production has gone up so high that I will actually have to be going over to make a visit to them.
So, Don Gato, I mean, how can our people get a hold of your cigars, man?
You go through we're at a lot of brick and mortars throughout the Florida and the country, different liquor stores, different restaurants, different hotels. You can get them online as well, or you can even contact me personally, and I'll
let's give them the website here.
The website's www.tightashes.com. That's tightashes.com. You also have the Instagram at Tight Ashes as well.
There you go, man. So listen, man, you guys are seeing the feed on the bottom. Tight Ashes is where you go. My man Don Gato has got some great cigars for you guys. So, man, I'm going to say thank you for being on here as Don Gato from Tight Ashes. But, and everyone that was tuning in, cigar centric, man. But now we're going to go 305 centric, Miami centric. So if you tune out, I'm going to say thanks for tuning in. But don't miss the best part, man. Don't miss the best part, because right now we're going to talk about, you said you were a DJ.
Yeah, DJ for a long time.
So tell us about that. You were DJ in Miami during
the 80s.
Interesting time.
Yeah.
To just leave it there. So give me a couple of really good stories, brother.
Well, I'll give you a quick of how I started. My brother was a DJ before me, so I first got exposed to that at about 6 years old. By the time I was 10, I had my own equipment already. By the time I was 12, we were already doing clubs and parties, and started my own business, actually called Two Live Productions.
Whoa.
I was actually a junior ghetto style DJ for Two Live Crew at 15 years old. Had a little license card and everything. And man, it just grew and grew, and eventually changed my name to Don Gato, because I was born with cat eyes. I don't know if it'll come out on the cameras here, if anybody wants to see that.
No, we're gonna keep that shit as a mystery, bro.
So Don Gato is there was a cartoon called Top Cat when we were growing up in the 70s.
Oh,
Hanna-Barbera, and then when they put it on Spanish television.
All right. If anyone remembers Top Cat, right?
Mm-hmm.
Listen, man, whoever remembers Top Cat, get in the chat. And the first one says, I remember Top Cat. We're probably going to send you some shit.
Fact. Send you.
No, we can't send people stuff, bro. That's a thing.
We're nice guys.
Yeah, but we may send you like a used Guayabera or a hat or some sunglasses, or something. But get in there, claim your prize, man, because we love you guys tuning in and listening to these great stories.
So in Spanish television, Top Cat is translated to Don Gato. So having growing up, born with cat eyes, which a lot of people know me as Cat Eyes and Gato in Miami, So then, and being Cuban, so it was automatically switching from Top Cat to Don Gato. And this was before the reggaeton era started with everybody calling themselves Don Omar or Don this or Don that. So the second my mom told me she liked it, I ran with it, you know? And no, man, and then that just changed my whole reputation. I basically ran on reputation. I don't DJ as much anymore. I DJ in Jamaica, I DJ in Africa, I DJ in special events, sometimes special events for him. Not
and,
everybody.
Yeah, and we got something cool coming up. So if you're in the Miami area, October 7th, we got craft spirits and cocktails.
Yes.
So come through.
Great event.
We've
been doing it together for about 9 years, right?
Dude, we're going. Actually, this is year 9.
Yeah,
correct. And we got a great Cuban band coming.
Gotcha.
Thanks to you.
Yeah.
You've spun at the event.
Many times. We did the conga line last time.
So
you never know what's gonna happen when I'm on the turntable.
You don't. So, my man. So
October 7th, the Cruise Building.
The Cruise Building, yes. So that's SN. I'll put the link up on Frankie Dranks.
Soon. They go fast.
Check it up. Check it out. If you're in Miami, listen, we got over 30-something brands that are out there serving up cocktails. And last thing I checked, bro, we've got like over 100 different spirits.
And some of these spirits that are very expensive, you won't be able, that you may have never tried, and you have an opportunity to try for the first time in your life. And it's just before you buy it and spend a lot of money like that, right?
Yeah, give it a go. You know. So, but we got food, we got live music, we got live DJ, we got cigars. So it's a great evening.
Frank does a great job. Great job he's been doing.
But let's talk about
just walking in the Cruise Building alone.
Oh man, yeah. For the people that don't know, it's a great experience. But DJ Don Gato, give me a mutiny story, bro. Give me an old school dirty freaking Miami Vice. These people don't know. They need to be entertained. So what do we got?
Oh man, that's I guess one of the great stories was at Baja Beach Club, the old Baja Beach Club. Remember that? With Luke,
oh my goodness,
Luke Skywalker. Which is what I still call him, Luke Skywalker. Technically, he's not allowed to use that name
Baja
anymore.
Beach Club was located in Coconut Grove. It was. It's a new place now. It's been reborn like 2 times over.
Well, yeah, what was
but Baja Beach Club was
St. Croix after that, right? And,
where you would want to go. You know.
And Luke was there at the bar with a bunch of girls licking whipped cream off of his chest.
So this is Luther Campbell.
Yeah.
So
Uncle Luke
Skywalker, not the Star Wars guy. Luther Campbell from Two Live Crew took that name. They never sued him.
I thought they were suing him.
Yeah.
But I guess he got rid of the name before they sued him.
Yeah, but forever he's always Luke Skywalker.
Shout out to Luke, because that's not he got sued by
by Lucasfilm. So
and also the reason they have parental advisory on every CD that has bad words is because of him.
Well, that's another thing. So
you spent all his money.
Thanks to Luther Skywalker, and I believe the what was the guy's name? Fucking
Navarro. Yeah, Martinez and Navarro. Yeah, there's even a song. I don't know what I have to say bad words on here now.
But that made Luther Campbell a villain in the world, and it actually made the parental warning beat on albums was the Two Live Crew thing. Yes. So it's always been kind of crazy of how we do things. So listen, so give me a story, bro. Give me a story, man. I need to hear it before we run out of power.
Oh boy. Yeah, that was one story. I saw Stevie B at that same place.
Stevie.
At the same place. So it was called Baja Beach. No, it was called St. Croix after that. And you had the Dan Marino's right next door.
Dan Marino's was upstairs, bro.
Yeah, it was upstairs.
It was upstairs.
Baja Beach. On the third.
Yeah, it was on the third.
Hey, you know, just like I can't remember any stories you want me to tell them, you know, because hey, I can't tell you Fat Tuesday stories either.
Hey,
you know?
listen, Eddie, Don Gato, thank you, my brother.
My pleasure, man.
For being part of this broadcast. And I want to say thank you to everybody for tuning in. Man, we're going to have you back on because we got too many stories to tell. We got way too many stories to tell about Miami. We got too many stories to tell about your fucking obsession with Seinfeld, which we didn't get to right now.
I'm definitely a very complex guy.
You know, so for everybody out there, listen, man. I'm gonna sign.
And maybe next time I'll get on the turntables too. Who knows, right?
Hey, listen, man. If we get a spot where we can go turntables, we're gonna do this shit. So listen, let's do this. I'm gonna sign out with the mojito. So let's.
Then I'm going to add like 8 to 10 milliliters. Perfect. Then again the malt. Ready? Just a little bit. Just need to little oil, freshener for the mint. In most of the places they do like they broken the mint and that is wrong. Then 2 ounces of white rum. You can use any white rum. In our case, we use it for the Caña 4. And also you can use a Bacardi Superior. Then we use a cute clock soda. It's very nice clock soda. With it. Because you need, all these ingredients to bring to shop the down. Then and as a garnish, is a mint leaf, and this one is very important. 2 small dashes of Angostura bitter, 2 unique, to complete the mojito. So here we have La Trova Mojito. I hope you enjoy.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Clásico. Enjoy en la trova.